This episode sponsored by Lake Monster Details, producing the Don's Light and Magic Legacy line of parts, offering upgrade parts and decals for accuracy, special effects, and lighting. Visit www.lakemonsterdetails.com and make it glow. Hey guys, Will here. Welcome back to Modeling from the Ensign's Chair. This is episode 8 of my 1/350 scale NX-01 Enterprise build, which I'm building for Brian. So I just want to say again, Brian, thank you for entrusting me to do this. Pretty happy with the way it's turning out, so I hope you are too. But so I think at this point I should be able to wrap this up hopefully by episode 10. But I'm thinking I may do a probably another episode or two after that. I've got my own model kits I want to build. I've got 3 of these now, and from what I've learned from building this model, there's some things that I kind of want to recommend that maybe you do differently if you're following this video series. You know, for example, right now I'm kind of painting some of the details on the this was referred to as the engineering section, but I've been calling it the impulse drive, and your wart nacelles, of course. But at any rate, you know, one thing I've noticed is that I'm using the craft paints, if you remember, and they've worked out really well. I really like the way they've turned out. I like the way the base coat is turning out as far as silver, but it's also got a little bit of that dirtiness to it. But one thing I want to recommend, and I'm noticing painting these little details, is that when you put your base coat on and you get it the way you want it, if you do it the two-step way that I'm doing it, which is putting the silver on and then coming back and dusting over it with some of the titanium gold, if you do that, once you get it the way you want it, you may want to come over this with a clear coat, you know, matte, gloss, whatever color, whatever kind of clear coat you want to get. It won't be your final clear coat, but the reason I say that is because I'm noticing that when I paint some of these details, because this is craft paint and it's acrylic paint, but and this is one of the great things about it, the craft paint comes off real easy. You know, if you take some warm water and a cloth and you want to take something off, it'll take it off, no problem. Problem that I'm finding is without putting a clear coat on when you go to paint the details is that in some cases the paint, the base coat starts to mix with the paint that I'm putting on. So one thing, you know, just as an example, that's one thing I'd recommend, you know, and that I'm going to do when I build another one of these later, or any model in that case in the future when I'm using craft paints. Once I get the base coat on, I'll put a clear coat on it. That way I don't have to worry about these details when I go to paint them mixing now with the base coat and messing up the base coat. So, because I already had to repaint, I did pretty good blending it in, but I already had to repaint, I think, this nacelle here, the pylon, because when I started painting some of the details, which I'm going to go over, when I started doing the vents on this, and I'm doing like a pin wash, a wash basically to paint these vents on here that you can see. And when I started doing that, I put a couple coats on, and you start to notice that some of the base coat's starting to come off. So I had to go back, repaint it, and now I'm ready to put the wash back on it. But so that's just one thing in hindsight that I would go back and change. I would put a clear coat on this first, and then paint the details, which I could go on put a clear coat on now, but I'm just about done painting the details, at least on this section. The saucer, I got to see what details I got to paint on there yet, and if I've got a lot of details I have to hand paint on there or go back. And I'm talking about hand paint. If you're just airbrushing it on, it's not going to disturb the base color at all, but like I said, some of these details I'm painting by hand because when you look at the image, the CGI renderings of the ship, these brass or a copper detail and this black detail ring up here, they both look kind of like they have a brushed type of finish to it. I know it's CGI, but it looks like they did kind of a brushed finish look to it. So that's why I'm painting it on. So what I'm going to do is in this episode is try to finish up some of these details. I'm going to go over a couple things with how I'm painting some of these details, because I was asked, you know, how I was doing, especially these vents, I guess they are in here, you know, getting them darkened up a little bit. And so I'm gonna go over that, and hopefully in this episode we'll be ready to mount this to the lower section of the saucer. And I'd like to get the control board, the antenna controls board, which is sitting over here, installed in the dish, and then start getting some wiring done, and then hopefully we can, you know, start getting excited at that point and start looking at some lights coming on. But so at any rate, that's what I'm looking to get done this episode. So give me a minute, I'll put you on the bench, we'll get to work. Alright guys, so here we go. So what I want to show you real quick is how I'm painting these vents on here, and we'll see if it can show up on camera, but you can see those vents, how I've done the black on them, and it turned out pretty well. And the easiest way I found to do these, now, you know, I've seen people, and I myself have done it too, where you get little details like this and you come in with a, you know, toothpick or something and try to, or, you know, a fine brush, and try to brush in here without getting the paint all over the place. So here's how I did it, if anybody's interested. But basically what I did was I did a wash, and, you know, it's been referred, some people refer to it as a pin wash, but it's a wash. So basically the way I make the wash is, and you can do this with any color, I'm using this Deco Art Ultra Black. It's a base coat paint, but you can use any black paint, and or any color you want. If you want to use you know, a lighter gray might be appropriate too for these vents. They're not supposed to be very dark, which is why I'll take this this Ultra Black, and then I'll take 2 drops of that Ultra Black, and I'll take 1 drop of this the base coat paint, which is this Dazzling Metallic Shimmering Silver from Deco Art. And I'll put 1 drop in there just to kind of lighten it up a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll take my my Pledge, Revive It, which is basically Future. My top will open up. I think I've got so much Pledge in this thing that doesn't want to come out, but if it's not going to come out, we'll just take the top off it. Maybe. There we go. Still starting to get a little hardened up on there. So I'll put some Pledge in here, and for a wash, the main thing with the wash is that you want to get it pretty well thinned out. And that actually, just by stroke of luck, isn't too bad at all. I'm seeing some chunks in here, some spots in this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and filter it. And just got one of those old Keurig reusable coffee filters is what I use to filter it. Does a pretty good job of filtering it down so that you don't get any of these larger chunks of paint coming off in there and messing up your finish. So got that. So now what I've got is I've got this concoction in here, and it's pretty well watered down. Basically, when I run the paint brush up the side of the cup with some of this on it, it's semi-transparent. So you're getting some of the color, but for the most part it's semi-transparent, and if you hold it long enough, most of it's going to run back down into the cup. So the way I do it, now you can take this and you can take a little fine tip, and you can let it just kind of run down the grills if you want. But if you thin this out right, you can basically just take this stuff and brush it into the grills, and what it's going to do is it's going to settle down in there. And I'll come back with my fingertip a little bit and take some of that out if I need to, like with all my cloth. But you can see, if the camera's picking it up, it kind of settles down into there, and it doesn't cover up the fins in between. So, you know, if you've got this worked down well enough, you can just come back with the brush and brush it right into there, and not have to worry about you know, coming in with a fine tip at one end and kind of letting it just run its way down in there. You just paint it in there, and because it's so thinned out, it has a tendency to just settle down into the lowest point, which is where you want it at. So get a little bit of this on there. And this is kind of where I got to be careful, because like I said, I've already had to repaint this side because I came over it too many times with this wash, and it did start to remove some of the color from in between the fins there. Get this little bit of paint out. There you go. But you just come in and you just run it right along, run the brush right along, and it'll drop right down in there. And it will not cover up your fins at all. So you get that separation in between these grills. Let's see if I can pull the light over here without it washing out. But hopefully your camera's picking it up and you can see what I'm doing there. I don't want to tilt it over too much because it will run out. You got to let it sit in there and dry. But you can see it just settles down in there, and you still got the silver in between each one. So that's the easiest way I found to do these. And this is the last one I've got to do. So let me just finish brushing this on there. You just want to do a little bit at a time and just let it kind of settle down in there. Don't want to put too much in there because it'll, especially on the smaller ones, it'll overflow and you'll have it running into places you don't want it running into. Long moment of silence. Okay, and there we go. She is, that fin is complete. So that's the easiest way I found to do those types of details, is just kind of make a wash and let it run out, thin it out real good. And you don't want that to be too dark, so it's all right if it's a little uneven in spots. I'll come back and touch it up just a little bit in a couple spots where maybe it's a little bit too light or lighter than I want it to be. Alright, I'm going to leave it like that because you don't want to go too heavy on this. You can always darken it up more if you want to later, but I'm going to let this sit and dry. And I'll come back and look at it, and we'll see what it looks like, and I'll decide whether or not I want to do a little more to it, darken a little bit more. I might come back to one of these over here. I see one of these small ones where I missed one of the depressions there. But it's really easy to come back and touch it up. It'll just settle right down in there, and it'll look like you've done some fine painting on those. So give me a little bit. I'm going to touch up, I'm going to make up some silver the same way I did just now with that black. I'm going to do a little bit of a wash. I'm going to come back and try to lighten up, tone down these brass, or well, not brass, but copper type colored rings, because right now they're a little bit too bold to my liking. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll come back and we'll see what it looks like. Give me a couple minutes. Alright guys, so some good news and some bad news. I made some more progress. I got the back half attached to the bottom half of the saucer section, and it's nice and sturdy, connected. But I also came back and I was talking about I was going to try to cut this down, this copper color down some with some more silver. So what I did was I made kind of a wash almost, not quite as thin as you'd make a wash, but I thinned it out pretty good with some my silver here, the base color silver that I used, which is a shimmering silver from Deco Art, and thinned it out pretty good. It brought the tone, the dark tone down, lightened it up a little bit, so it looks a little more like the CGI rendering shows it should look. I got my details on the back here, which I've shown before. I've got those done. I got the black band done around the front here, and so it's all done. I got a little bit of black accent put on here. I'll get a wet paper towel, that'll come off. But so I got all the details done on the back, and I got this hooked up. And the other thing I got done too was I did some work on the base here. and trying to do something a little bit with this base, make it pop a little bit. So what I did was I painted it with some of this folk art color shift. This is called Black Flash. Bring this light over here. This is called Black Flash, and it's a color shift paint from Deco Art. And I don't know that the camera picks it up. It does change from black to like a gold color, depending on the angle that you look at it. So I did that, and then what I did was I wired this up with some lights. I had those, I showed those SMDs that are self-flashing that are an RGB color, and I wired them up to the posts here. Let's see if I can get the battery connected on this. Okay. So there we go. So that's what I've got, and of course the ship will sit on top here. The only thing I'm not too happy about is they don't stay in sync. So these lights are flashing at different rates and they're getting the different colors. So I've actually ordered some of these that are like a slower flash. They don't flash, these flash kind of fast and then they slow down a little bit. And I placed an order for some of the ones that slow down a little bit, that are a little slower. So I get those in, I'll see if I can get those to kind of maybe flash at the same rate. But I think it would be a pretty cool effect to have under the ship. So I just did a quick mock-up on that anyway, and that's what it looks like. So that's turning out pretty well. I talked to my client Brian and showed him that, and he was pretty happy with it. So I'll do a little more work on that. Now, the bad news, which I've also already talked to Brian about. So I got the section together and I've got all the wiring connected to work on getting this this board mounted and all these wires kind of sorted out. So ran into one problem though, and I'll hook this up so I can show you. Alright, so make sure these wires are touching. So as you can see, I'll turn this light off so you can see a little easier. I've got my lights lit up. Now, here's the problem. The port buzzard is not lighting up. So I've got an issue there. Now, here's the thing about the buzzard. The buzzard has, I think, four or five different wires that are positives that run to the circuit board in here. So each one of these, I think each pair of LEDs has its own power source. Now I know it's getting power because my starboard buzzard is working just fine. So that leads me to believe that the negative wire, which is the black wire that runs to that board, is the issue. Now additionally, you also notice that my port nav light, which is red, is blinking, but my starboard is not, which should be green, is not flashing. What you see flashing there is just the strobe. So I've got a problem with the nav light not working on the starboard nacelle and the buzzard not working on the port nacelle. Now I did a little checking on this, and just in case anybody runs across an issue similar, I'll go through this. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but basically I did some checking. Now the power for the starboard nav light and for the port, they're both the same color. They're both yellow coming off of that ribbon wire. So they're both yellow, and the wire for the ground, of course, for the buzzard is black. What I found out was, looking back, because I took a lot of photos when I was putting this together, some that I never posted, but I took a lot of photos. And it's good that I did, because I was able to look back and I noticed that on both of these, in both cases, the black wire is the leading wire on that ribbon on the front here, and I kind of mocked one of these up to better explain. This is from my my other kit, which has pretty much become a parts kit at this point. But on the leading edge of this pylon, or the leading edge of the ribbon, is the black wire on one side, which would be on this side. And on the starboard side, the leading wire is the yellow wire. So that wasn't, to me, that was just too much of a coincidence. So I know I tested these, and I showed everybody. These were working fine. After I sealed up the nacelles, these were good. I tested them out, they were running, everything was working. I also tested them, which I didn't do on camera, but I tested them once I put the pylons on. So I'm 100% confident that the issue is not in the nacelles themselves or in the pylons. This is the first time I've connected it since I put on the top half of the engineering section, impulse section, whatever you want to call it. So I started looking at it, and I took this piece out and put it together. And I had mentioned that this did not go on easily when I put this together. The top part did not mate well to the bottom part at all. I had to fight with it a little bit. So what I noticed was, in looking, and you can't really see this, and I'm not going to worry about getting too into detail, the wires would come in, get my other pointer here. So the wires would run under this piece, which is this piece here. So your wires would come down the pylon and run under this piece and go up through here. So now here's where the issue is. I think the issue is, you'll notice, if I can get this on to show up on the camera without washing out too much, you'll notice that there's a gap here where the wires ran through, but it gets narrower towards the leading edge of the pylon. So what I think is, because both of those wires were on the leading edge, I believe what's happened is, when I put together the two sections of the engineering / impulse section, I believe this area here, which has a pretty good edge to it, when I applied it, I think that put pressure on that wire and cut both of those wires on the leading edge. So my dilemma is now, the only way for me to fix that is to pull and try to pry this the two halves of this apart to get to those wires and fix them. The issue with that is that I did such an in-depth process of mating these two sections together and filling in gaps already that it's almost like there's no seam there. I mean, you can see the seam, but it's like welded together. So I'm gonna have to carefully go through this with my hobby knife. I may try some just a small amount. I don't want to mess up the plastic, but I may try just a small amount of nail polish remover and acetone just on the seam right there to see if I can get that to kind of break apart there without breaking. So that's my dilemma right now. That's what I'm faced with. So after all these weeks of, not having too big of an issue other than gaps and parts not lining up properly, this is what I got to deal with. So give me a little bit. I'm going to work on this. I'm hoping to have this come back and have this sorted out before I post this video. I don't want to leave everybody hanging, because after this episode I'm on vacation. I work next week, and then the following 2 weekends I'll be on vacation, so I won't have an episode out for the next 3 weeks till the third weekend from now. So I'm gonna try to get this sorted out and get this as part of the video before I post this. So give me a little bit. I'm gonna work on it, and hopefully I can get this sorted out. We'll be back. All right, guys. Well, it's an ugly thing. I know. I had to tear it apart, but as I suspected, you can see on this side, if I can get it to focus, right, get my pointer so I can get my finger out the way. Right here, that yellow line is cut, and it's actually on the trailing edge of the nacelle. I thought these were both on the leading edge, but they're on the trailing edge, and you can see where it's cut if the camera's focusing. If I get the focus right. It might not focus that close up, but it's cut right here, that yellow line. And then on the other side, we've got, you can see that black line's completely cut through. I mean, it's missing a chunk of it. I don't even know. It might be tucked under there, but and it's also heavily damaged this white line, which is to one of the sets of lights on the bustard collector. And this is the side that was working. So I was probably missing those two lights and just couldn't tell just from looking at it. But so yeah, it's this edge right here. Back out a little bit. This edge is really, I mean, it's not sharp that you're gonna cut your finger on, but it's sharp enough that when you press, if you press these lines against it, it'll cut these wires. So note to self, and my bad luck is your learning experience. But I'm going to have to pull this wire up, which I've already pulled up some, and get under it and Dremel this down, take this edge off on both sides. You can see right here, this is even thinner and sharper right here. And that's exactly where it cut the wire at. So, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Not too big of a deal. I'll get this these lines patched up, and we'll get her back together, and this time we'll make sure we do a light test before I start cementing her all back together. But anyway, I'm glad that's the only issue. When I first opened it up, I couldn't tell, but because I was looking at the leading edge, and then I noticed the trailing edges are where it's cut at. So keep in mind, when you build your own, take this edge down, take this little ledge right here off. That's where I grinded away, and the only reason this did that is because I grinded away this section to allow for the LEDs to fit, so for the impulses. So that ledge wouldn't have been there, and it wouldn't have cut the wire otherwise. So if you don't end up having to grind this out, you probably won't have to worry about it. But because I ground this out, I should have just taken this all the way down instead of leaving that ledge there. So that's the mistake I made. I left that ledge there, and yeah, when I put these two halves together, it cut those wires right there. So anyway, glad that's all it is, though. It could have been worse. It could have been something further up into the nacelles, and then that would have been a mess to pull that all the way down. So I'll get this cleaned up, and hopefully be able to come back before I close out this episode and show you the completed results of getting this back together. So give me a minute, and we'll be back. Alright guys, so she's all back together and working again like she's supposed to be. Wasn't too bad getting her back together. Of course, now I've got all the seam work I got to redo and fix up, so that's going to take me a bit of time to do, go back through that, and I'll be working on that this weekend. And like I said, the next 2 weekends I'm on vacation, so it'll be about 3 weeks before I can get another episode out and update this. And Brian, I'm sorry to keep you waiting, man, but I'm glad I didn't have to leave you on the cliffhanger. We got her back, and she's good to go. And I just want to show, it's a pretty cool lighting effect. I know everybody's seen the buzzards up front, but Tender Controls really has some great effects on this. You got the buzzards, and then the other thing I wanted to show was the impulse engines are really cool. They got a pulsing lighting effect. So I'll just let this sit here a minute so you can see it. And that's where it really is an advantage to do those separate LEDs, because you really get those separate hot spots going in and out. So that's pretty cool. But I got a little bit of and it's down all the way, so I just got a bit of a light leak there I'm going to have to fix. I got quite a few of those now, but so anyway, I'll let you sit here and watch this while I say I appreciate again everybody that's watching these videos and giving me feedback and commenting, and all the likes and comments. But I also appreciate everybody that's subscribing. And like I said, if you want to subscribe, please subscribe. You'll get the updates automatically whenever I put out a new video, and you won't have to keep checking to see if it's out there. So, but if you don't want to subscribe, you don't have to, but please, as always, hit that like button down below, leave me a comment, or if you feel like it, and let me know how I'm doing. But as always, guys, I appreciate it, and see you in a couple weeks. But hope you've enjoyed the view of these impulse engines. Till next time, keep modeling.